Ended. Going live again. That's no good. Aussie Resumes live. Still working on it. Are we coming back? Are we coming back? It says we're live.
You might not.
Are we back? We are back. Okay. Turn the sound off. Rightio, we're back. We're back. And I think it's faster now, which is good. So people are back, and I might need to, because I restarted that. So I may need header, logo, no, show, browser source, yes. So we need to fix up the browser source. We're going to put that up, and then in the browser we're going to go here. We're looking good. Okay. Does this usually take longer if the company's first time sponsoring? Well, if it's first time sponsoring, they've got to process the sponsorship application before they do anything. So it's going to take a little bit longer, but it depends on, what's longer. Is it a day longer? Is it an hour longer? It depends on sort of the company and how quickly they can process a sponsorship application. But if the sponsorship's already there, you're doing a nomination, then, look, the thing is that most of the time you're waiting in a queue, right? You're not actually being processed. You're not allocated to a case officer. You're waiting your turn. It's not like every case gets, like you lodge it on Monday and it goes to a case officer on Tuesday. You're lodging it on Monday, and then 3 months later it's getting to a case officer because there's a 3-month queue for a 482 visa, right? So you're just sitting there in the queue waiting. They've got a faster queue if you're a specialist, like on the specialist stream rather than the core stream, and they've got a if your company is I can't remember the exact term, but like a super approved, a specialized approved sponsor, then you're supposed to get priority processing. They're supposed to process those ones faster as well. That's like the benefit of being pre-approved, but at a higher level. You basically, look, most of the time you're in a queue, and it's going to take a little bit longer if you've got to do a sponsorship for the first time, but a little bit longer might just be an hour. So, or it might be a day, but it shouldn't be like weeks or months, right? If you've lodged a sponsorship and a nomination and a visa, then they'll do the sponsorship, and then they'll see there's an attached nomination. They'll start work on the nomination, and then they'll start work on the visa. When they had enough staff, they would do these in a week, or 2 weeks, when they said, we're going to bring in the new skills in demand visa, all the press releases will do it in 28 days, right? They haven't hit 28 days since the system was being introduced in 28 days. They couldn't produce them all in the first month. They were behind that. So Rabanaz 65 includes state nomination for community. Well, you don't have, look, your points are your points, right? And I'll give you an example, because there's so few people in the state, 190 and 491. And there's so many people applying now that it doesn't really matter what your points are, because the points for state sponsorship are effectively higher than what they are for general skills migration. And I'll show you some examples. If we have a look we're in processing times. We'll have a look in the skill migration cutoffs, and I think I looked at, was it chefs, I think? Just let me get to it. Chef. And let me show it on the screen here. So we've got chefs. So look, the cutoff, we've got the beautiful cutoffs here at the bottom now, where it shows you the green are the numbers, tells you how many people are above you. Yellow is the cutoff point, and red is the ones we don't think you got much chance. But you can see here that chefs, it's 85 is the cutoff, and we took 663 sort of last year. And if you have a look, there's like 32 people on 95 points, there's 190 people on 90 points, and there's 495 people on 85 points. So that's your 663. They're in that 85 points, right? But then if you look at the state nomination, well, the state nomination's crazy. It's still 85 points is what you need. But if you look at where the offers are, they're in Western Australia, and there's 13,000 applications, and 5,400 of them are over in WA, and that's because WA is one of the only states making offers to chefs, and Tasmania is taking a lot as well. But if you're in the other states, we don't have much chance. But the point is, the cutoff is still 85 because there's more applicants, and it pushes the numbers up. So. And the same with the 491, even fewer people for the 491. And again, 7,000 applicants in Western Australia, almost half of the applicants, like there's 16,000 regional applicants, almost half are in Western Australia. And there's only 325 applicants, it's like less than 5%. So look, you really, Kaka, no. I thought we have taken over. I'm not in Australia. I'm in Thailand. So, but anyway, look. If you, the whole point of the app really, and you can download it, and there's an Android version now that you can download from the link there, AussieVisaMate.app. You can contact us through that link and all the rest of it. Aaron, yeah, you're pretty close. Any guess on the next 189 round? Let me go back. It's all moved ahead from me. And my girlfriend's writing to me in Thai, so now I have to read that. I have to decode that. My Thai reading's not that good. Nomination for 190. What are the chances in WA? Community worker. Look, download the app, have a look, right? That's the thing. Syrian's on a student visa. Once I apply for a partner visa, can I cancel my student visa? Well, you can, but you're going to lose your work rights, right? Because you're going to end up on a bridging visa C, Syrian, and bridging visa C won't have work rights. You can apply for work rights, but if your partner is like wealthy and you've got 100 grand in the bank, then they'll say, well, you don't have a compelling need to work. You'll have to wait out your time. So you got to sort of do the math. You came here to study, so perhaps you should finish off your course and get qualified in something, especially if you've paid for it. But once your student visa expires or your course finishes, then you don't have an issue with working, and away you can go. So, and also from a risk management point of view, if something goes wrong with your relationship, you know, whatever, breaks up, domestic violence, whatever it might be, it's good to have another visa there that you can fall back on. Don't just throw it away. Look, I don't recommend it. You can do it, but there are risks, right? There's risks, and there's the issue about work rights. Chatha, 79 points in carpentry, looking for 190 and 109. What do you think about this profile? 70 is not going to be enough, right? So if we look at carpenters, well, it might be for carpenters. Hang on, let's have a look. Carpenters, 189, 500 offers. There's not many applicants. And, oh, dearie me, that's not really helpful. That's probably more helpful. 75 points is what we say the cutoff is going to be. So predicted cutoff, 75. So I don't know why that's not working on the 189 side of things. But 65 points was what the rounds were. And that's because the number's so high. Be 65 for the 189. So if that's what, if you've got those points, then that'd be good. November is when I expect the next round to be, because that's when it's been for the last 2 years. So shifty, I think, my prediction, without any knowledge whatsoever, but based on the informed opinion that that's when it's been the last 2 years, that's what we're going to do. Aqualogs, g'day. Aaron's got the French. Am I still in Australia? No, I'm in Thailand, where I intend on staying. Can I sponsor my partner if I'm on job seeker? Yes, there's no financial requirement to in Australia to sponsor your spouse. So you still need, what you will need to do is you'll need to tell the government that you're not single, that you're in a relationship with someone, and that could affect your job seeker payment. But you must do that, because if you don't, then when they go, are you in a genuine continuing relationship, they'll talk to Centrelink, and Centrelink will go, oh no, he said he's been single for the last 2 years, and they'll either reject you, or Centrelink will give you a call and say, hey, you've been in a relationship, we've overpaid you, you've got to pay all this money back, and with interest, and you've been naughty. So, and they don't like that, the government doesn't like it when you take money off them that you're not entitled to. So you've got to be really careful if you're getting benefits that you tell everyone, not just your friends and family, but the government, that you are in a relationship with someone. Sarah Yun, am I going to get bridging visa A after applying? So what will happen is, if you're on a student visa and you apply for a spouse visa, then you will get bridging visa A because you applied while you had a substantive visa, your student visa. Now, what will happen is, if you cancel your student visa, or you don't attend and they cancel it, whatever happens, if your student visa is cancelled, that will also cancel the bridging visa that is currently, it'll cancel all bridging visas. And then for a brief period of time, you're going to be unlawful for 1 day, and that's going to have two effects. It means you have to apply for bridging visa C or E, which won't have work rights. And the other thing is that if you're trying to get citizenship after 4 years, well, your citizenship time is going to start again because you've been unlawful for a short period of time, even a second, right? So, so for these reasons, keep studying. Do the spouse visa and keep studying, right? Until your course is finished, and then you can stop studying and you're good to go. Abdul, a baker. Bakers, I don't know. A baker. What would you like to know? They're there. You can download Aussie Visa, mate. The link is there. There's an Android version. I really want someone. Can someone please, if you've got an Android, can you go to the website and download it and just tell me it works? Because I can't test it. I don't have an Android device. And my girlfriend's writing to me in Thai. I'm going to have to fix that up. Best pathways for chef. Look, if you're a chef, there's 11,000 people. The best pathway is employment by far. So get a job as a chef, and you got a 100% chance. You know, you just got to have IELTS 5, which you'll have. If you're looking at skilled migration, you've got to have IELTS 6. So you only need IELTS 5. You got that. If you got a job, like most of the states require you to have a job. If not a job in your field, you've got that. So that, and you got to get paid over $76,515. Most chefs getting 80 to 110. So you should be good. You got a job, 482 is the way to go. You'll be on a visa rather than waiting for a state to give you an offer and all the rest of it. I mean, getting a job by far. Dan Yellow, I'm a truck driver. Can I get a work visa? You can. You can register on my website, AussieVisaMate.app. There's a register for truck drivers. Sends you the information, and there'll be some follow-up emails coming pretty soon, because now I've got this Aussie Visa Mate app out of the way, which has been taking up all my time for 2 weeks. I can get onto the truck drivers and the aged care workers, which are the two groups that we're going to be assisting. So truck drivers can get work, but only on Dharma agreements. So you need to be in one of the Dharma areas. where truck drivers are listed. The one we're sort of promoting is Western Australia, because obviously they need a lot of truck drivers in WA. It's a big area, and not apart from the state Dharma, they've got 4 individual Dharmas in the Kimberley, Pilbara, Southwest, and another spot. I can't remember the 4th one, but they got 4 of them anyway, as well as the whole state. So you need 3 as a truck driver. You need 3 years. You need 3 years. You need 3 years work experience, or maybe 4 years if you want to be based in Perth. Okay. When the states get their allocations? Well, look, the minister basically said at his meet the press, or whatever they do, Friday a week ago, or was it Friday 2 weeks ago? He basically said the states already know what their allocations are. They just haven't announced them. They're not happy with them because they're less than what they were last year, right? So they're sort of, I don't know when they're going to announce them. Who knows? Apparently they already know what it is, but none of them have announced it yet. Apart from there, we got a temporary allocation. Hopefully the temporary allocation is not their only allocation, and they're still having to negotiate. I don't know. Hi, so the visa process time for Pakistan is an offshore visa, and Pakistan is taking a long time. They're processed in India, I believe. And if we go to Aussie Visa Mate, and we go to the processing times there, we can see offshore partner visa 309, 50% of applications in 14 months, 90% within 24 months. So, and that information is going to be updated very soon, like tonight. So I need to update the database there. Any change in ATR? What's ATR stand for? It's not, or is it the ART? I don't know. What happens if I cancel my appeal? Tendo. So you would withdraw your appeal. If you withdraw your appeal, then it'll take the ART about a month to write to the department and say this application's been withdrawn, and you're no longer entitled to your bridging visa, and then they'll withdraw your bridging visa. If you're doing something else, like you've made another visa application, or if you're leaving the country, then those are things you can do. But obviously, the ART is not part of immigration. It's part of the Department of Justice, or the Attorney General's Department, and so they don't issue visas. They need to write to the Department of Immigration and say, when you lodge your application, this guy's lodged an application, this girl's lodged an application, this person's lodged an application if you're not a guy or a girl, and please issue a bridging visa, right? And the reverse is also true. When the case has been decided, or if it's been withdrawn, there's some sort of status change, then they need to then notify the department, who then acts accordingly. So there's a little bit of a delay. Elias, I'm on a working holiday visa from Sweden. Should I go for truck driver or painting? Well, what do you want to be? Like, are you a truck driver or you're a painter? So there's no good occupations. There's no shortcuts. If you are a truck driver or you are a painter, well, that's what you go for. But you need to meet the requirements. You need to be either a qualified truck driver or you need to be a qualified painter. So you need an education component, like a Cert 2 in driving operations, or you need some sort of Cert 3 or 4 in painting and decorating. I don't know what the course is. Or 3 years work experience. And then once you've met the education requirement, you need 12 months work experience as a truck driver or as a painter. Painters, you can paint anywhere. On a 482 visa. Truck drivers, Dharma only. So it's okay if you're in Western Australia, because the whole state is is on a Dharma agreement, but if you're on the East Coast, you've got to go to Cairns or Townsville. You can't do it in Melbourne or Sydney. Lost Soul, hello sir, was the process of OREC 2 nomination transfer approval? Well, it's just nomination. So you're just doing the nomination only. Look, you're still going to be in the queue, aren't you? Right? So the queue is like maybe probably 3 months. If it's an existing sponsor, and you've already got the visa, obviously, because you're doing a transfer, it's not going to take very long once you get to a case officer. But you're sort of in a queue a mile long, and how long is it going to take? Well, once you're at the front of the queue, you pay your money and you get your tickets, and then you walk off and you go and see your concert, right? But if your queue's a mile long, then you're sitting in the queue for a long time. So you're probably queuing for 3 months, unless they fast track it for some reason. They look at it when it comes in and go, oh, this one's going to be fast, we'll do that, right? Keep our stats down because they're terrible, right? Victor, I've applied for a partner visa. How long do you think it would take? Well, you can follow that on Aussie Visa, mate. Download it. Has anyone downloaded the Android version yet? You can download it for free. You can get the visa processing times for free too. So if you're lodged onshore, Victor, then the onshore processing time currently 15 to 19 months, and I believe that's coming a little bit. I think it's into 13 months now, but I need to update the system. Doris, is 6 weeks too long to get it to? Well, it's going to be 13 weeks to get a 482. If you're talking about a 482 visa, 82 days is the average processing time. So, Sam, 90 points, mechanical engineer, superior English, 92k salary. Any chances? Well, get sponsored. Get your employer to sponsor you. It's a 100% chance. Doesn't matter about points and all the rest of it. Mech engineers weren't offered last round, were they? Let's have a look. Oops, it's logged me out. Maybe I was sitting there idle for too long. Mechanical engineer. Well, they didn't get offers last round. The mechanical engineers didn't get an offer. We say the cutoff's 90 points. So if you've got 90 points, then if there's an offer round, you're probably looking pretty good. Although we only took 249 last year, and there's 516 on 90, so it won't be everyone with 90. It'll just be maybe 100 less than those. Maybe only the top 100. Maybe only 20 or 25% of the people on 90 points. So it's not guaranteed at 90 points. Talk to your employer. Get your employer onto it, right? I mean, Jesus. Can I add extra evidence in a 309 without any request? Of course you can. Samavia, you've always got access to your IMI account, and you should. Every 3 months you should update it a little bit and say, look, here's our recent photos, here's our recent financial transfers, here's our recent communications. If you do meet up, either you go over there, or maybe if you're real lucky, they get a tourist visa and you can come to us, and they can come to Australia. You can get some, look, this is our little holiday, and meeting the parents and celebrating our third wedding anniversary apart because the processing time is too long and all that kind of stuff. But you can definitely upload documents. There's a limit of 100 documents or something like that on the IMI account, so don't go crazy. But just two or three documents every 3 months to show that you're still a couple and still communicating and sending the cash and all that kind of stuff. Go for it. Best path for an IT student that just finished studies was get work, right? Get work. You need a job in IT, not stacking shelves at Woolworths or driving Ubers. You don't want to be another masters of IT driving an Uber. and you need to be applying for jobs. Like I saw, Gary V. He's the, I don't know, influencer guy and how to make money on social media and all that. He's been doing it for 20 odd years, and all the Americans are complaining they can't get work. And he says, look, if you're not waking up in the morning and sending off 30 job applications, you're not looking for work, right? You're just like, oh yeah, no one's responding to me, 1 and 2, and all the rest of it. Like, I've got all these aged care people at the moment. We've had 1,000 people apply for aged care, and you look at the figures, and there's like 8,000 aged care workers, and they're all in New South Wales, right? I mean, there's literally 4,000 of them in New South Wales. Well, the reason they can't find jobs is not looking where there's available jobs. They all want to live by Bondi Beach, right? Like, if you're an IT student, you've got some IT skills, you need to find a job. You need to be applying for crap loads of jobs until you get one, right? That's because they're not making GSM offers to IT, right? They're basically saying, oh, we don't want to make an offer to an IT person because we don't know if they'll get work in the field. So, they're doing it to construction workers, and they know you're going to get work, right? So IT, you need work in your field, right? Can't emphasize it enough. You've got 12 months on your 485 to do it, and then you can get sponsored on a 482. That's your pathway. Jatinder, what's the processing time for 186 direct entry? Just applied from Darwin. So it's about 12 to 18 months. If you go to Aussie Visa Mate, AussieVisaMate.app. It's our website now. It's an app as well. I want someone to download and tell me if the APK works or not. And you type in chef. Oh no, sorry. We're typing in processing times, ENS. So direct entry is 12 to 18 months. Transition is 14 to 18 months. So yes, yeah, and they're both about the same. So so that's the situation there. Doris, I'm good. I'm tell you what, I'm really happy now that I've finished developing the website and the app, because that's been driving me insane for the last 2 weeks. But that's all good. But thank you for asking. Is there any info about New South Wales 491 Pathway 1? I believe in the last week New South Wales has opened. I got some email about it, and I'm yet to update. Look, too small, too small. Get work in your field, right? The 190 and even the government, right? Like, the minister got up there. I couldn't believe it, right? He actually agreed with me. The minister said, look, we're not really happy with the quality of people we're getting on the 190s and the 491s, and it's not really filling jobs and stuff, and we need to look at this program and see what we can do. But we're really pushing the work visa side of things. Like, there's 100,000 people on work visas, and there's like less than 10 on a 190 program, right? Or on a 491 program, and they're cutting back the numbers, right? So it's dead. It's dead, or it's dying, right? It's on its last legs. You need work. I just, if I could reach out to you all, like, go and get work. That's what you need to do, right? Elias is still complaining about truck driving or painting. Manan has followed me. Thank you very much. Any update on 491? Has been waiting a year now. It's a 2-year wait, right? And they should be processing 189s. There's a priority list. 189s before 190s before 491s, right? So, not only is it a dead and dying program, but people have already applied for it are on a wait forever. Any chance for IT at 115? Well, at a 190 visa. Well, I'd have thought so. But you've got to get one of the states to offer. Download Aussie Visa Mate. It's an iOS app as well. But just get onto the website. You'll need to subscribe. There's actually a subscription. Look, at the moment it's $20 on the iOS store. Yeah, on the App Store. But it's randomized on the website. It's between $5 and $20. So there's a special because I'm testing it. So you can get a good deal as well. And then you can you can find out, because IT, there's like, I don't know, 20 odd IT occupations. You can find out which ones. You can find out which states. Look, I'll show you if you go to the state processing. It's going to log me out again. I don't know. No, it's not. But if you go to state nomination, this is for accountants. It tells you how many applicants there are in your state, and it tells you how many offers they made, and you can figure out whether or not and it tells you what the score distribution is, how many people are above you, how many people below you. If we type in, I don't know, let's say you're an ICT business analyst. So there's 14,000 ICT business analysts, and New South Wales, 4,000 applicants, 152 offers. Western Australia, 2,500 applicants, 62 offers. Look at the cutoff, you need to 95. You've got 115, well, you're right at the top of the list. You're in the green, right? But you still need one of the states to offer you based on, based on what your occupation is. So in ACT, in IT, well, IT's an industry. It's not an occupation, right? But ICT business analysts, 1,100, they took 27. So they're only taking 2%, 2 to 3% of the people. And if you've got 115, well, it's a good number to have. But it's not going to be good if you're in, if they're not taking you. So if you're an analyst programmer in the ACT, there's 6,700. If you're an AP, right, there's 630 applicants, no offers, right? So it won't matter what your points are, there's no offers. So you're not an AP because you'd be on the list with 115. So unless you've applied recently. So that's, look, the information is there, Aussie, visamate.app. Check it out. We've done processing times. I want to come to Australia for a visit. Do I declare past refusals from other countries? Someone else has asked me this question. They don't really. Look, you get to the end of the application, and there could be questions about it, and you have to look at the question, whether it says from Australia or not. But so basically, if they ask you the question, you answer it. If it just says past refusals or something like that, there's a form, right? And I can't remember the number of the form. But if it's a permanent application, I think they ask you that, like an ENS application or a spouse application. They ask, have you been rejected from other countries? But I think on a 482 application, they don't actually ask that. So it depends on the application, and whether they ask whether they're referring to Australia or whether they're referring to worldwide. The thing is, they know in Australia if you've been rejected or not because they keep history of all these kind of things, right? But overseas, they don't have a history of them. They've got no manner of finding out because the information is confidential. It's not like, America can ring up Australia and say, hey, was such and such rejected when they made their visa application. If they ask you, you've got to answer. If you don't, then you get a 40-20 sort of situation where you've made false and misleading statements. But you don't need to give them information that they're not requesting. And if they don't specifically say worldwide, then it's just for Australia. So, Just George, 482 to PR wait time, 12 to 18 months is the story. Just George applied in July. I lodged a couple in March or April. I haven't heard anything. So, you just got to wait. Lost all the employment period right after nomination transfer lodgement. Oops, also just scrolled off the page. The employment period right after nomination transfer lodgement also counts for 186 TRT, right? So if you're working I'm not going to give you the bridging visa you get in between, I think is definitely counting, right? You're still on a 482. So I think the legislation's a bit sort of blurry about it, and the department's got some sort of mumbo jumbo as well, which I'm not exactly sure is legit from when I read it. But basically, you got to hold a 482 visa for 2 years, right? So that just means it's been granted, and it's in your visa, it's in your hand, right? It's in your passport, it's in your hand, right? You got to hold it for 2 years, but then there's another requirement, which is you've been working for 2 years, and the department doesn't want people sort of getting to the end of 2 years and having to apply for a month because it's taking them 3 months to process it, and then they go, oh, it's only for a month because they want to do an ENS application. So they sort of said, well, we're going to allow the bridging visas, and they may have made some changes to the legislation and stuff like that. When I looked at it, I thought it was dodgy as, but if the department's doing it, then that's what they're doing. So when you get to the point in time that you're about to lodge, either at the end of your 482 or when you want to make the application, you should check out what the current state of the law is, because it's a future event. Just because it's what it says now could change, right? So, but you still need to have the 482 for 2 years. Jackson's interested in coming to Australia. So are lots of people. Precious, should I apply for a 190? I've got a good job as a security analyst. After I applied for 801 on a 485 now. Precious, I don't know what you're talking about, basically, because an 801 is a second stage partner visa. So 485, my visa expires next year, or I should just wait for my 801. Well, have you made an 820 application? If you've made a partner application, then that's all you need to do. So, Sempali, what is it like in tribunal hearing they call it? Well, I haven't actually been to the ART, because when I was a registered agent, it was the Migration Review Tribunal, and the ART was sort of only for sort of character grounds. It wasn't for visa grounds. So the MRT was just basically a table sort of the size of a table tennis table, and you sat on one side with and the member would just sort of come in and sort of, it's very, very informal. It's designed to be, or it was designed to be, stress-free and just sort of friendly and all that kind of stuff. They record it and everything, but there's no jury or anything like that, There might be like a little technical person who comes in and says, oh, please stand, the member's going to be here, like what they call a tip staff in a courtroom situation, but basically just an administrator who comes in and turns on we're going to record the session, and they'll do some formalities and say, I'm member Hoth, and today's the 1st of September, and it's 10 o'clock, and we've got this case, and the case is ABC 1, 2, 3, and then they'll go through it after the formalities are over. So there's some sort of formalities in terms of recording and that kind of stuff. But generally speaking, it's what do you want to say? What do I want to say? The ART, I'm not sure because I've never been. But when I did my masters, we did some mock trials, and it was basically the department turns up and you turn up and you have your say, and they say why they say. I don't know if that's still the case or not, because I'm in Thailand. I don't do it. I don't need to. So but they're a tribunal. They're not a court. So they're basically the rules of evidence don't apply and things like that. No one's going to be saying that's hearsay, or you can pretty much say or do anything. Well, maybe not do anything, but you can say whatever. You still give sworn evidence, but people can't exclude it on the regular reasons of it's in the wrong form, or it's hearsay, or whatever. yeah, you're given a fair go, basically. It's the the Aussie way. Future of early childhood teachers as a man in South Australia. Well, look, it, I don't know what the laws in South Australia are, or whether men are looking to be excluded from that profession. I think it would be a sad day if men were excluded from early childhood teaching or any occupation for that matter. It's certainly been detrimental to children for the lack of men in primary school teaching. So, in fact, I saw an interesting article the other day. It basically said that if they arrested parents of criminals in America rather than the criminals, the courts there would be full of single mothers. So, and that's kids who don't have father figures in their life, turning to crime and not having that discipline and role model. So that's my view on it. I don't know what the situation is. Certainly, in terms of early childhood for any sex, gender, or whatever, there's enormous demand and there's also enormous supply. The supply numbers are increasing substantially, and I'll bring up early childhood and just give you an idea. If you're on Aussie visa, mate, you should be downloading it and checking it out, but you can see skilled independent, there's 7,200 applicants. We say the predicted cutoff is 80, but it could very well be 85. And if you look at the state nomination figures, 8,500, and look, there's 2,800 in New South Wales. Like, if you're doing early childhood in New South Wales, you're in the wrong state. And Victoria, 3,800. I mean, absolutely crazy, right? Now, if you want to study early childhood and get into that, well, you need a job and you need to be in these areas like the Northern Territory or Tasmania, where there's small numbers and you can get work and you can therefore get sponsored and go for it. Sim Am Rit. What are the chances for 4-1 with 70 points? Well, if you look, Queensland has got something. I think regional areas, you need to work. You need to live and work in the regional area for 6 months to be eligible for a 491. I think that's what it is from the top of my head. But if you've got 70 points, I thought you only need 65. You probably get a 189 offer rather than a 491 offer. You want to get a 189 offer. That'll be processed probably by February or March. So, yeah. Hi from Ali. Chef in Tasmania, Launceston, needs a job as a chef. 11,000 applicants, 16,000 chefs in 190 applications. Civil engineering technicians in Western Australia. Have a look on Aussie Visa, mate. Download it, no excuses. Civil engineering. Oops. We'll look at technician. We looked at engineer before. So there's 4,800 total applicants. Is that on the show? Will it show it there? 4,800 applicants, only 83 offers. 90 is the cutoff, is what we predict the cutoff will be. You can see there's 46 people on 95 points, 238 on 90 points, then 85 points. There's lots of people. That's in the state nomination. Not many state nominated people. In WA, well, 1,092 applicants in Western Australia and only 61 offers recently. That's like last year. So not good. Similarly, you just can look it up. Newman can look it up. You'll need to download the app. What happened with the new ART? Did it get better or not? Well, look, the problem is not the ART, right? And nothing's changed. All they've done is rename it, right? So what happened? Look, it's a political thing, right? If the political side, all these members or judges or whatever, right? Like you see it it's very high profile in the Supreme Court, right? You get a Republican gets in, they put in their man, and they're trying to get like a majority so they can, get their shit happening in their legislation passed and approved, right? So, and it's the same in Australia, but like the old MRT, it used to be full with old politicians, right? Because the members were, this 15 years ago now, the members were getting like $260,000 a year. It's a cushy job if you're a former politician who did nothing as a politician. You can get a job as a member at the MRT and listen to migrants complain about how hard they've been done by, and you might be able to do something about it if you're pro-migrant. And if you're not pro-migrant, well, you might just go, nah, you've had your chance, piss off, right? So, and then what basically happened with the MRT, I suppose, is they said, well, we don't like the quality of the people. They don't understand the migration law. We really want lawyers and blah, 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 blah in here, right? And so because they're judges or they're supposed to have a commission for life, right? So that they're above being sacked and political pressure and all that kind of stuff, right? So you can't sack them. So what do? Well, you close down the tribunal and then you form another one, right? And then you appoint the people that you like and you don't reappoint the people. You make everyone apply again for the new tribunal and then you make everyone apply and you keep the ones you like and you get rid of the ones you don't. You don't have an unfair dismissal case. You don't have constitutional arguments and things like this. You just go, well, it doesn't exist anymore. The employer's no longer here, right? So that's what's happened. They're in the same building and then they spend money on printing and stuff to change the name and the business cards, and it's just great for spending money, right? But the real problem with the ART is that they don't have enough members and there's way too many people fraudulently making applications. There's like 90,000 people or so it's around 100,000 people making applications for protection, which they can't possibly do. They're just doing it to extend their stay here and for various different reasons. They want money to take back to their country or whatever, or they just think they're entitled to remain in Australia for some reason, whatever that might be. So but one thing I have noticed is the statistics used to come out monthly, and look, I haven't looked in the last 3 or 4 weeks, but the last statistics came out were in May. And considering they probably still have the same staff working on their website and doing all this statistic reporting, because they have to report the figures to Parliament and things like that, it's very poor from the administration side. And I think generally speaking, in immigration, there's been a real slowdown in the information that is coming about how good and how bad the processing times are and the queues of people that are waiting. I'm not even sure if the 2025 end of year report has been completed yet, and that normally comes out in March or April. So, it's not good. Engineering technologist, yep. We looked at engineering technologist for Goban. Emmy, does partners have stages? Yes, there's 2 stages. Has a provisional 2-year visa, which at the moment is taking about 2 years to be granted. And then it has the permanent visa. So if you apply onshore, you apply for both visas at once. Most people don't realise that, but you're actually applying for 2 visas. You apply for the 820 and the 801 at the same time on the same form, on the same website now in the EMI account. And then one of those visas, the second one, the permanent one, they don't process until 2 years has passed. And then the other one sits in a queue, and unfortunately that queue's probably close to 2 years as well. So it's a bit of a waste of time. But back in the good old days when they process them quickly, you get the first one in about 3 months, and then 2 years later they'd sort of, they'd say, are you still together? And if you were still together, then you become a permanent resident. To stop fraud, effectively. But now it's all a bit too ridiculous because I think last I looked at it, there's 90,000 applicants in the queue, and they only process about 45,000 applicants annually. there is no cap per se, but there's no, they don't have enough staff to process them any faster, and the people who request money for more staff, they're sort of saying, well, we only need 45,000, right, but no. Okay, so there's 2 stages, and basically it's 2 years. As a migration lawyer, which one you think easier these days, Australia or New Zealand? Well, I'm not a migration lawyer. I've got a Masters of Immigration Law. I used to be a registered migration agent, but I'm no longer registered. Haven't been for, 15 years, since 2015, 10 years. But which one is easier? I don't know. I was actually, I did the course for New Zealand, and I think I was eligible for registration, but the market there's very small. The population is only 3 million people. Look, New Zealand, Australia's very difficult, but New Zealand's also very expensive. So I don't know which one's easier. I think migration in general is very, very difficult. And I also think that, people, like every year I do the green card lottery, and I won one year, and then I wasn't processed because of COVID. They shut the embassy. And this year, the green card lottery hasn't even opened yet. They don't even know when it's going to open. It normally opens the first week of October. So people should really be thinking about where they want to work and where they want to live and what the economy is like in various countries. And it's a relative thing, but the news does change quite considerably. So you need to do sort of modern research. And if you're looking at moving permanently, I really recommend people don't just talk to someone or go on some forums. You should head to the country and check it all out. Like I moved to Thailand, and I came here for a week to see if I liked it. I'd never been to Thailand, never came here before. Knew a lot of Thai people. I knew they were friendly and all that kind of stuff. But I'd never been to the country and didn't know what the climate was like. And even now, even though I'm entitled to a retirement visa, I'm still on a student visa, and I wanted to be here for 12 months to get the whole seasons, the good and the bad, and the tourist season and the quiet season and all the rest of it, to experience what it's like before I decided I was going to move here permanently. So, you can't just go, oh, I live in a shithole, I want to move. You need to make sure you don't move to a bigger shithole, right? So that's my advice. PR prospects for Diploma of Community Service in Canberra. I don't know. Like, I don't know what a Diploma of Community Services entitles you in employment, right? But employment is what you need, right? So if that community services diploma can make you a personal carer, or if it's a community worker or a welfare worker, I don't know what the qualifications are for all of those. That field, it's not an area I've worked in personally. But I assume you've done that I'm assuming that you've done a course knowing that it leads to an occupation at the end of it. And so if you get a job in that occupation, you should be able to get sponsored on a 482 visa, either in the core skills pathway, or if it's like in aged care, disability care, personal care workers, aged care nursing, on a labour agreement, the labour agreement stream. So, yeah. Jason, for the 482 visa, is it 3 years experience or 1 year's experience? I've seen a few things, but not sure. So for a 482 visa now, you need 1 year post-qualification experience. So, for instance, if you're a truck driver and you didn't do a course as a truck driver, like you didn't do in Australia, the Certificate 2 in Driving Operations, then you would need to show 2 years work experience as your education, and then you would need another year post-education, so you'd need 3 years experience. But if you're an IT programmer and you've done a degree in software programming or whatever, software engineering, then you've got your degree, that's your education. You need 12 months experience as a programmer in order to get the 482 visa. So there's 2 components. There's the education component, and there's the work experience component. And so like in trades, for instance, some trades, they have a formal apprenticeship, and then some have like a journeyman process where you know, you finish work at 15, you finish school at 15, and you go work for dad, and then for the next 3 or 4 years, dad teaches you how to be a plumber or a chippy or a, you know, whatever. And some countries still have that rather than a formal, you know, go to a TAFE college and blah, 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 blah. So that's the split, right? You need the education component, which could be formal or informal, like an apprenticeship or a work component. And then you need work experience after you've become fully qualified, right? Sugar, because there's generally no accountability, no recourse. Yes, Sugar, you are correct. We're talking about the ART there, of course. And Sugar, if you can go to Aussie Visa Mate app and download the Android version and see if it works for me, that would be great. And let me know. Coach and Denizen, 1 month of wait for a 600 tourist stream. That's the average processing time for a tourist visa on the 600. And it's, I don't know. We get a lot of tourist visas, lots of tourist visas, like in the millions. So, and some of them, if you're doing a 601 or a 651, like an ETA or an e-travel or whatever it's called, they're basically done by computers. And as long as you don't say you've got a communicable disease and you sell weapons of mass destruction and you've got a criminal record a mile long, the computer says, we'll let you in. But if you're doing a 600, then that's a country that doesn't have an agreement with Australia. It tends to have higher overstay rates and all that kind of stuff. And so they want to make sure that everyone's got the money and they're not being taken advantage of and things like that. I've got this ad up at the, well, it's not really an ad, but you know, this promotion about truck driving and things like that. Someone commented saying, oh, they're bringing truck drivers from Africa to you know, harvest their organs or something. I was like, Jesus, we want to harvest organs. We've got all these international students. Why would we bring truck drivers? I mean, this is the funny thing. They get the funniest comments. It's crazy. BJ Chef, can you join a call? You can book a meeting with me if you want. And if you go to AussieVisaMate.app, there's a link there to book a meeting. Show the screen. Let's have a look. Home. So we've got the features down here. So if you want to register for aged care, or you want to register for information on truck driving jobs, and register your Australian journey, book a meeting, go for it. And we got the tutorials there if you want to find out about visas on the 870 sponsored parent, or tourist visas if you're making a 600 application, or spouse visas, priority processing. If you're looking for priority processing, you want to check that out as well. So there's some cool stuff there. Visa processing time for the 190 Ashish is close to 2 years. And if you go to Aussie Visa Mate in the free section, you can download that. It'll tell you what the current 190 processing time is. It'll be updated later today. Andy, my partner visa got rejected, and now I'm taking this to hearing. What will they ask in there? Well, Andy, I don't know why your partner visa has been rejected. So, but they'll probably go through quite a lot with you. They'll probably go through quite a lot with you in terms of, you know, when did you meet and blah 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 blah, and then, you know, what's your situation and all the rest of it, right? The good news for you, like if you're in a genuine relationship, then the good news is that you know, the overturn rate's about 70%. So look, I don't know if, you know, if you're not in a genuine relationship, maybe they've got some information. They should have put that information to you. If said, oh, you know, someone's called up and anonymously said that, you know, he's just, you know, they're in a 2-bedroom place, or there's 10 of them in this place, or whatever there is, right? Sometimes people make complaints, or they're not in a genuine relationship. But, you know, maybe your neighbour just doesn't like migrants, right? Or you had a fight with your next door neighbour, right? I don't know the basis of why your visa was rejected, but whatever reason it was, well, they're looking at it afresh. They can look at fresh evidence. So if they said, well, you didn't have any financial information, well, get your financial information together. Get a will. Get your superannuation sorted. Get both names on a lease to show that you live together, and blah 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 blah. So yeah, if you need a hand, book a meeting, drop a line, and I'll help you out. It'll cost you, but yeah. It's already cost you $9,000 to make the application. A couple of hundred for some professional advice is nothing, right? So, and you're probably on a two plus year wait to get a hearing date too. So, it's a long time. Nutritionalist. You need a job as a nutritionalist. Arvind. Hey, hi mate. How long does 482 Dharma get approved if all in order? So, so 482 Dharma is a labour agreement. The labour agreement stream is currently 4 to 6 months. So that's, when I looked yesterday, it was what it said, 4 to 6 months. How long does skills in demand 482 truck driver in WA get approved once lodged? So 482, it's a Dharma. So again, it's 4 to 6 months. Yeah. Syrian, it's not a good idea to cancel my shiva after. That's right. It's not a good idea. I don't believe it wouldn't be my. It wouldn't be my suggestion. So, Jay, my 485 visa is refused and I'll apply for the ART. How long do I need to wait, and can I apply for 482 visa? So, well, you're probably on a bridging visa. You might be section 48 barred because you've had a visa refusal. So what that would mean is you're on bridging visa A, I assume, because you got the refusal and then you applied for the ART. So bridging visa A, you apply for bridging visa B, you leave the country, you lodge your 482, you come back in on your bridging visa B, and you wait for the 482 to be granted or for your ART hearing. So you can still apply, but you probably need to do it from offshore. If you need assistance, Aussie Visa Mate app. Book a meeting, drop me an email, we can help you out. Or, drop me a thing in TikTok. Nathan, something about enrolled nurses. I have a diploma of enrolled nurse at TAFE and I have 1 year experience. Which work visa pathway? So I think the labour agreement for aged care includes enrolled nurses, or enrolled nurses are personal care assistants, or no, they're the one nursing. It'll come to me. I've got the labour agreement sitting on my desktop too. It's, hang on. I can look it up on my app. How's that? Nurse. So enrolled nurses on the state lists, but they don't make many offers. And if you earn enough, you can get a 482 visa because it's on the CSOL. But I think earnings is the problem, unless you're working night shift or something like that. But if you've got 1 year full-time experience, then 482 is possible for you if your employer's sponsoring. Cashmo sent, followed the host. Yes, it's an onshore one. I need to extend my stay here. I'm a French citizen. Coach, I didn't get the rest. So it's an onshore one. It's a spouse application. You've got a bridging visa until it's decided. So you're extending your stay. So, ANKIT, 85 points for a civil engineer draftsman. Any chances? I don't know. Go to AussieVisaMate.app, download it, stay on the website, pay for the service, and it'll tell you what the cutoff is. So, Param Dawal is in a 482 border town. Okay, chef 482 border town. If you've got a job as a chef, doesn't matter where you are, right? then you can get a visa if you paid 80,000 base or anything above 76,515. You can get sponsored. So talk to your sponsor. What did he say about the de facto visa for my partner? I missed it. Oh, dearie me. Is it true that taxes are higher, massive immigration, housing, living is a crisis? Is it true that taxes are high? Well, in Australia, definitely taxes have gone up. So there's no doubt about that. There's massive immigration out of control. Yeah. And housing, living is a crisis. Well, I don't live in Australia anymore, and certainly I think it's difficult if you're in certain states and areas. But I think it's probably less difficult. I saw a recent article saying the Gold Coast is like the second most expensive place to live in Australia now, behind Sydney. I don't know. I do not know whether there's a rental crisis, there's a housing crisis. If you keep bringing more people into the country, and people don't leave, like we've now got 200,000 people who are unlawful and will not leave. 100,000 of them, we know where they are. They've exhausted their appeals, and we just don't force them to leave. And there's another 100,000 who've just disappeared into the woodwork. We know when they arrived, but they didn't leave. And Australia, being an island, we know when they leave, right? So no one swims out of the country. There's 200,000 people there. That's, I don't know, 2.7 people per household. It's 60 or 70,000 houses. And then there's also been a big movement in housing with Airbnb and all that kind of stuff. Took a lot of rental properties off the long-term market onto the short-term market, which is great if you're a holiday person, but it's no good if, you need workers living close to where it might be. Byron Bay, I used to live in Byron Bay. Byron Bay, something like 35% of the properties are short-term rentals, like Airbnb rentals. There's one guy there who owns like 50 or something, so it's crazy. The restaurants couldn't find staff because, if you're a restaurant staff or bar staff or retail worker, you don't come from Mullumbimby to work in Byron. You work in Mullum, right? You don't come from Brunswick Heads. You don't come from Ballina. You work in the area where you can just knock off work, have a beer, and walk home, right? So it's certain that, look, there's going to be a reckoning. When that reckoning is going to be, I don't know. But they can't continue bringing people into the country and not building houses. It's that simple. And they need to fix both, right? The minister was saying, the problem we have is there are things we can't control, like when people leave, right? And people aren't leaving. And but they can do that. They could stop the 485 visa, and they've put age caps on it and things like that. But they could just flat out stop the 485 or restrict it to people who had work in their field, which would effectively cut it by 2/3. And those people would have to leave the country. And they've stopped people from daisy chaining student visas and going to a 485 and going back to a student visa again, another 485 and all this kind of stuff. People who are sort of permanently temporary, they're trying to do something about it, but there's probably close to 1 million people in the country, which is 4% of the country, who obviously living somewhere, who really aren't contributing or have no pathway and should leave. So if there's a problem, yes. And as I mentioned earlier about the number of people who are in the ART making claims, the ART is costing over $300 million a year to operate. That's its budget. And 80% of cases are protection cases or people appealing student visa rejections. 80%. So scammers, basically. Scammers. We're paying $300 million to give legal privileges to scammers. So it's bad. ART processing time is over 2 years. over 2 years. As I said earlier, it's the ART now, of course. As I said earlier, they haven't updated their information since May, so I can't tell you better than that. In May, it looked like it was 21 months, but it's, yeah. How long it takes for a 482 visa for partner and children. So if you've already got the 482 and you're doing subsequent entries, well, you're just going to go back into the queue and it's going to be another 3 to 5 months, right? It should, once it gets to the front of the queue, it shouldn't take very long. They're just going to go, oh, do they have a nomination or a letter from the employer? Yeah. You know, are they married? Do they live together? Do they have children? Do they have birth certificates? Blah, blah, blah. Shouldn't be, unless the child is not from your relationship, then you might have some questions. Lodged a 491. Not paid tax and super and got, oh God, I got invitation, different employer. I've got no idea. I've got no idea. If you lodged it yourself, then you take that risk that things change. So I've got no idea. I'd have to look at your case and everything. So, Shah, I'm looking for a job. Be ready to do any work. Well, you don't want to do any work. You're here in Dubai. Oh, you're in Dubai. Okay. Okay. Well, you need work experience. Whatever you're going to do, Shah, right? You need 12 months. You need to be qualified, and you need 12 months work experience, and it needs to be skilled. We don't need shelf stackers or Uber drivers here, right? Right. So Heat, registered nurse 75 points, hope for a 189, it's good. Registered nurses, 13 different occupations. You'll need to go to aussievisamate.app and look it up. I think 80 was the cutoff. I don't think you've got a chance at 75. So employment is what you want. That's what you should do. Roman applied offshore for 309 in January. How long it takes? So it's taking about 18, depends where, but 18 to 24 months. I had a client from Pakistan who got notified. It's been 19 months that they've got a case officer. So Nanek, yes. Tony, how high chances to get work rights on bridging visa C, ART subclass 602? Well, look, if you need to get work rights, it doesn't matter what visa you're applying for. The test is whether or not you've got a compelling need to work, right? And that means that you've got no money in the bank to live off, and your income, which is probably nothing, if you don't have work rights, if you're not working, then they're going to say, well, you know, what's your rent, what's your food, and what's your clothing expenses for the month? So that's the only things they consider. They don't consider petrol, transport, your mobile phone, your Netflix, or anything like that. They just want to know, can you feed yourself? Can you keep a roof over your head? And can you keep clothes on your back? Right? Now, if you can do all three of those things because you've got money in the bank, you're not going to get work rights. You don't have the right to work because you want to. You've got to have, you only get work rights if you need to. And the way that they assess that is, like I just said, can you keep a roof over your head? Can you feed yourself? Can you keep clothes on your back? So if you've got money in the bank, or basically, if you've been here for a while, they're going to say, well, have you been supporting yourself? And if you've been saying, you know, I live with my partner, or I've been getting money from overseas, or whatever, they'll say, well, just keep doing that, right? So yeah, it just depends on your case. Depends on the facts of your case. Can you please talk about partner visa process? Not really. I've got 5 minutes and I've got to go. In fact, I've got to go very soon. Visa 309. It's a two-stage process. I can't do it in 5 minutes. If you've got specific questions, you can ask me. If you need an agent, sign up. Do you have information on protection visa? What does it mean when Section 56 is requested? So, well, information on protection is like a massive field. Section 56 is a request for more information. So they're saying, well, justify your ground. So you might say, I don't know, you might say you're in fear of persecution because of your religious beliefs, right? And then you'll need to show that, you know, in the country that, I don't know, you're a Christian living or you're one of those ring, what are they called, ring Muslims in China or something like that. You need to show that that particular social group or religious group is being persecuted in that area, right? So, and normally there's things like country information, which is like independent third parties like the CIA. I don't know how independent they are, but the CIA, a lot of the care groups like World Vision and things like that, they release information where they're in areas where they're caring and providing aid to say these people and these groups are being persecuted or bad things happen to them and things like that. So that's what you need to support your case, basically. So when you're asking someone to leave if they are on ART as a genuine visa seeker, why? So look, Tony, it's really quite simple, right? If you look at the long-term number of people who have been making visa applications and been making appeals against those visa applications, it's been tracking for like 15 years at about 20,000 people every year, and the people the people who make the applications or the ART would process about 1,500 a month, which is 18,000 a year. So basically the number that we get is the number that we processed. Now we're up to a queue of 100,000 people in the space of 2 years. So we're getting 5 times as many applications, and they're in particular areas. They're in the particular areas of student visa refusals and protection visa applications. So these people who are making these applications are making them to remain in the country, not because they have grounds for protection. The protection visa rejection rate is 92% or something like that. A lot of people are withdrawing their applications, like 30% are withdrawing their applications before the hearing. So they're just basically buying themselves time. And we can see this in the statistics. So yeah, there are genuine people who need to lodge appeals, but if for instance you're a spouse applicant and you want to lodge an appeal, instead of it taking 6 months, it's now taking close to 2.5 years. So it's very unfair on the people who are genuinely visa applicants, and the department has made a genuine mistake because all these scammers are pushing out the processing time for everyone to 5 links just because they want to remain in the country. Can't explain it better than that. So, and we know they're scammers because the long-term average is 20,000 a year, and we're getting 100,000 currently, right? So there you go. Is it easier to get a visa? I'm a diabetes type 1 patient, even though, so I don't know that. I don't know, basically. Permanent residents need to meet the health requirement. If there's a test on what your cost to the community health system will be. We don't want to be importing people who are going to place a burden on an already overburdened health system. So there's a health waiver that you can apply for in certain visas, like, I don't know, if you're the mother of a child and the child's, an Australian citizen because your partner's an Australian citizen, then there's probably a health waiver in there that you can apply for. It's a process. I don't specialise in that area, so I don't know specifically for diabetes. You should talk to someone who works in that field and see if they get through. Yeah. You'll need to make an appointment with someone, basically. So, yeah. I've 80 points for social. I've got to go. Sorry, people. I've got to go. I've got a lesson right now. So download Aussie Visa, mate. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back.